You can't teach teams to collaborate just by talking about it. You need to give them an opportunity to actually collaborate and to experience the trade-offs, the negotiations, and how everything comes together. In this video, I share 3 fun activities that get people collaborating in unexpected ways. Hi, I'm Kerry Price. I'm the founder of the Facilitators Network, and I use the principles of deliberate generosity to make sure that no meeting or workshop is ever wasted. I've been facilitating for 20 odd years, and in that time I've led thousands of meetings, workshops and community conversations. Now I help other trainers and facilitators do it well too. There's 2 ways you can teach teams about collaboration. The first is you can talk about it, you can brainstorm ideas, you can share stories and case studies. The second way is let's just get on and collaborate and then reflect and review, how did that work? What stood out for us? In this video, I said I'd share 3 activities that give people a chance to do just that. So let's get into it. Activity 1 is called Design a Handshake. And I got to be honest, this is my go-to activity when I'm working with teams around collaboration. It's really simple, it raises the energy, and there's a whole lot of insights that just come tumbling out. I most often do this after lunch because it doubles as a bit of an energizer, but you can use it at any time throughout the day. How it works is I invite people to stand up, find a partner, and I let them know I'm going to give them about a minute to design a 2-part handshake. In other words, I want them to imagine that after the workshop, they're walking down the street, they bang into each other and they want to greet each other with a 2-part handshake. Might be a high five and a fist bump, or it might be shaking hands and then a flick of the wrist, whatever works for them. People jump up, find their partner, and 2-part handshakes happen all around the room. After about a minute, I check in, make sure everyone has got their 2-part handshake designed, and then I invite partners or peers to combine together and make a group of 4. Now the instruction is to make a 4-part handshake. Now I deliberately keep the instruction vague. I don't tell them that they have to use the parts that they've already created. I just say the invitation is now to create a 4-part handshake. I do make clear that not all parties need to be shaking together, but if one of a party was to meet another person from the party in the street, the handshake would have 4 parts to it. This time I give them a little bit longer, not too long, maybe a couple of minutes, for them to design a 4-part handshake. Once time is up, I make it a little bit more complex again, and this time the 2 teams of 4 need to combine to make a group of 8. And the instruction is to make a 8-part handshake. Now you might guess at this point that things start to get a little more chaotic, there's a little more confusion, there's opportunity for different people to take the lead and instruct the group in different ways. And the important thing here is not to give them too long to figure it out. It's getting a bit complex at this point, but you still want to keep it snappy. So 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes is about as long as you want to leave it. And then finally, once you've given them that short amount of time, and chances are they won't have figured it out, you want to combine all the remaining groups together. So you might have 16, 20, 24 people all working together to make a combined handshake. And this is where it goes all shapes of awful. Some people check out altogether, they're over it, they don't see the point of the activity. Some people step up and lead and they want to make sure it's being done in a particular way. Some groups segment and you've got 3 or 4 groups all trying to work it out all at the same time. And that disorganized chaos is exactly what you're looking for. Because when you call the activity to a close and ask, what did you notice? What bubbles up will be all the things that are required for good collaboration. My debrief usually sounds like, what stood out for you in that activity? Why did you make the choices that you made? What did you notice about other people? What did you notice about yourself? Debriefing questions can be anything, depending on where you're wanting to take the conversation. Activity 2. This is called mirror drawing, and it really highlights the importance of communication and collaboration. So how it works is you invite people to get into groups of 4, and if you're doing it in person, you'll need them to sit back to back so they can't see what each other are drawing on their paper. Everyone will need a piece of paper and a pen. And the goal of the activity is for all 4 people in the group to draw exactly the same picture. But it gets tricky because they're all going to take turns giving instructions. So person 1 might say, I want us to draw a small circle in the top left hand corner of the page. And then I want us to draw a small square in the center of the page. Whatever it might be. You give 30 seconds for person 1 to give instructions, and then you invite person 2 to take over, person 3, and then person 4. At the end of the 2 minutes or 2.5 minutes, you invite the group to share their pictures with each other and see how alike or not they actually are. If you're doing this activity online, it's really easy. You just send people into breakout rooms. They obviously can't see each other's paper then, and so the activity runs in exactly the same way. Just like the first activity, the power of this activity is in the debrief. So it's not enough just to run the activity and have a laugh about the different pictures. The debrief is where the learning happens. So you'll want to ask the groups, what did you notice about that activity? What stood out for you about that activity? What surprised you? And how might what we've just learnt or what just bubbled up for you relate to how we collaborate back in the office? Activity 3. This activity is called Flip 10, and I use this activity for collaboration type workshops, but also for workshops around strategy and communication. You'll need a set of playing cards. I like these jumbo playing cards because they're much easier to handle. And you will need to sort out numbers 1 to 10 for every 8 to 10 people in your workshop. So if you're working with a small group, say of 12 people, you'll do this as one team. If you're working with larger groups, you need to split the groups up into smaller teams between 8 and 12 people. How it works is at one end of the room, you lay out numbers 1 to 10 of any given suit face down on the floor in a random order. No lines or squares or patterns, just in a mixed up order on the floor. The team is at the other end of the room, and the instructions are they need to flip over the cards in order 1 to 10. Every person in the team must have a turn at running forward to flip a card over, but the strategy they use is completely up to them. So in a nutshell, it works kind of like this. Give them 2 or 3 minutes to come up with a strategy and then say go. The first person runs to the end of the room, flips over a card. If it happens to be ace, they leave it face up. If it's anything but ace, they flip it back down. Run back to their team. The second person comes running to the front of the room, flips over a card. If it happens to be ace, it stays face up. Anything else, they put it back face down. This keeps playing along until the ace is flipped over, and now we're looking for card number 2. Once card number 2 is flipped over, now we're looking for card number 3. Now, if you're playing this with just one group, time it. Give it a sense of urgency. They're trying to do it as fast as possible. If you're doing it with more than one group, it becomes a competition and the urgency happens automatically. This activity can take anywhere from 5 minutes to 20 minutes, depending on how well the team has thought out their strategy. If you want to have a conversation about continuous improvement, run it twice and see what happens. As always with all of these activities, the real learning is in the debrief. So at the end of the activity, make sure you carve out time to say, what did you notice? What stood out for you? What surprised you? And how does this relate to how we might collaborate at work? So debriefing at the end of the activities is important. But what's equally important is carving out times to review, recap, reflect at the end of the session so that all of the learning that's happened can be tied together. In my next video, how to recap a training session, I give you 3 cool activities for making sure you can recap and review your training session well. The link is in the description below. Go check it out.